Others talking about UFC Mexico City and specifically the main event that features a flyweight rematch between two combatants who fallen prey to Alexandre Pantoja. Most recently, Brandon Royval went down in a ball of flames to Alexandre Pantoja. Yes, fought valiantly in the 5th round and proclaimed prior to the fight that the best pace was a suicide pace and today was a good day to die. Yet, he failed to implement that strategy during the fight. He fought a technical fight to a certain degree, spent a long time at on the uh Royval was he could not break free of Pantoja's back taking abilities. And this is a rematch that took place a few years ago between Brandon Moreno and Brandon Royval. You saw in that first fight Brandon Royval extremely dangerous, throwing knees, throwing spinning attacks, giving up positions to scramble. And in this matchup, in this fight, I look at the odds here and you see Brandon Royval. It's a bit deceiving. You go to Tapology and you see Brandon Royval with a 70.5-inch reach. And in reality, he has a 68-inch reach, according to UFC stats. Yes, he's the taller fighter in this matchup. And you watch back the first fight, and Royval, his shoulder is dislocated. I believe Mark Montoya is trying to reduce the dislocation. We didn't get to see that totally play out. It was nearing the end of the first round. Moreno was really sitting down on his punches in that fight. And also, Moreno was able to take the back of Royval there in that spot. And that's something that I expect to see in this matchup at elevation. 5 rounds. Brandon Moreno was supposed to take on Amir Albazi, and that fight did not come to fruition. In steps Brandon Royval at elevation over 7,000 feet this weekend. Short notice, Royval. And this is a fascinating matchup. I was on Brandon Moreno the first time this bout took place, and I got a number, I believe it was minus 181, if you check the third-party tracked record. In this spot, I think that Moreno, if that loss to Pantoja didn't take too much out of his sails. I know Royval most recently lost to Pantoja, but Moreno's fight, that 5 rounds, you look at how busted up Moreno was. He was swollen and beaten, and he fought his ass off, put up a better fight than Royval did. He's got the full training camp here. Both of these guys, phenomenal jiu-jitsu, but I've got a few glaring stats here for you. The takedown defense of Brandon Royval, 40%, which is, he hasn't had enough time to address that after the loss to Pantoja. And yes, Moreno is only landing takedowns at 45%. I mean, you have to consider also the bouts versus Figueiredo and the top of the food chain for Moreno. He's fought the who's who at flyweight. There's a significant difference in control time and an ability when backpacking their opponent here. And Moreno, he could potentially do that again. I think that is a path to victory for him. But we have to realize the Nicolau matchup for Royval. There have been others. The Matt Schnell matchup. Royval is a bit of a tornado out there, so he's going to bring the fight to Moreno here. I think he may have learned from the loss for the title most recently, where he fought a technical fight. And we saw against Rogerio Bontorin, that was another situation where Royval came out trying to fight technically sound, and it came back to bite him in the ass. He ended up walking away victorious there, but there were some sketchy moments, and he was controlled on the mat for a while there. He had to really work hard to bust loose and scramble out of positions. And he's willing to give up his neck. He's willing to give up his back. And you watch the first fight that took place between Moreno and Royval, and there was a rear naked choke that was pretty much sunk in multiple times. And Royval was almost caught in a twister. He's willing to sacrifice himself, but what's interesting, at the highest level when he was fighting for the championship belt, he didn't take those chances. And look what happened. Came up short. Now, this fight, I'm going to be picking Brandon Moreno. I'm keeping an eye on the line here. I think that this has the potential to head out over minus 300, but you never really know. There could be potentially some money coming in on Royval late if there's a tough weight cut tomorrow. We got to see how that goes too. Now, Royval, I believe he was set to be the backup fighter in this case, so it's not like he completely came out of the dark for this one, or off the couch. So he would still have to plan to make weight. And is the motivation there? Was the motivation there? Royval, extremely dangerous. Extremely dangerous. And you look at these odds, plus 235 as an underdog here. Of course, anybody has a shot. There are no certainties in this game. But I think that the rightful favorite here is Brandon Moreno. If he did not take too much damage in that Pantoja fight, and then he should come out of the other side here victorious. I think that he just has too many tools, both standing and on the mat. He's got to watch out for those flying knees, those step-in knees, and everything that Royval brings to the table. Royval, very unorthodox. The striking defense is also a major issue for Brandon Royval. He will drop his hands at times, and yes, he's the taller fighter here, but you look at the striking defense, 45% for Brandon Royval. That means 55% of the time his opponents are landing on him. So that is not a good look for Brandon Royval. And the longer this fight goes, he could potentially get pieced up if he starts to run out of gas. And this is a 5-round affair at elevation, mind you, in front of the Mexico City crowd, which will in all likelihood be cheering their hearts out for Brandon Moreno. So give me Brandon Moreno in this matchup. I think that he has the potential to win this fight multiple different ways. And you heard Royval talk about a suicide pace being the best pace, and that today was a good day to die. Well, Moreno's not going to let him off the hook here. Moreno is going to meet fire with fire, and these two are going to be scrambling all over the mat. I don't suspect that we're going to see a Pantoja-like performance here where time is running off the clock for many, many, many minutes. Although if Moreno wants to pursue that path that is there, I think that Moreno is going to go for the kill here. So give me Brandon Moreno in this matchup. Have a great rest of your day. Thanks for tuning in. Third Party Tracked. Check it out. BetMMA.tips. Mike's MMA picks. Go get what's yours, my brother. Take care.